Hello and welcome. Today I'll be answering some questions that are most commonly asked. If you have a child who is always sick every time, especially after starting daycare or starting school, then this session is for you because I get asked questions all the time. My kid is always sick. I get called almost on a weekly basis to come pick up my kid from daycare because they had a fever again. Oh, they're coughing now, runny nose, or the kid just stays study all year round, and multiple infections throughout the year where you get frequent calls, missed days from work because of that. So today I'll answer that main question and then we'll talk about why that's happening, what's normal and what's not normal. Well, if this is your first time joining me here today, welcome. I'm Dr. Lumfruni. I'm a pediatrician, founder of Generational Wellbeing. Thank you. So let's get to it. Number one question I get asked is, my kid since starting daycare has been sick almost on a weekly basis. Or my kid, for those kids who skipped daycare and went straight to kindergarten, since starting kindergarten, they've missed so many days for school. I need the note for school because my kid is always sick. Anything that goes around school or daycare, my kid ends up getting it. Is this normal? Is it not normal? What can I do? So let's first start out answering the question, what is normal? So now most kids, especially the kids younger than 3 years old starting daycare or younger than 5 years old in the case of those who are not exposed, once they're exposed to bacteria or different viruses or different pathogens that have never been exposed to, they get sick because their immune system function or learn by exposure. So without any exposure to viruses, they don't get activated, they don't do anything, but with that exposure, our immune system works, which is the same concept behind vaccines, right? Expose the body to a tiny dose of that virus, and then your body builds immunity against that virus so that you come in contact with it, either you don't get sick or your symptoms are not as severe and the complications are not as severe. So normal for kids who've never had that exposure before being exposed to viruses that are going around daycare to have symptoms. Now, short term is kind of frustrating because you have to pick them up all the time, but overall long term, that's kind of helping the immune system function better. Evidenced by when we had like pre-COVID or during the COVID years where we restricted everybody and everyone was all quarantined and there was no exposure to any of those viruses, and then coming back post-COVID, we're seeing more virulent strains of bacteria like strep or other viruses that maybe the kids were not having any huge reactions to. Now we're having more severe cases. So it's a good thing that your body, your kids are being exposed to these viruses, because then the immune system long-term can build that immunity against the viruses. Now, what is normal then? Normal is having maybe about 6 to 8 infections or common cold illnesses, common gastroenteritis illnesses in a year, where you get exposed, you have symptoms lasting about 5 to 7 days, a few days of fever, and then you're okay and you go on, and then until maybe the month down the line or 2 months down the line getting those. That is normal when you're having an average of 6 to 8 mild illnesses throughout the year. Now, if you have a kid though that is having more frequent symptoms or more frequent illnesses, or their illnesses are lasting a bit longer, or they have like that slower recovery time frame, that may be a kid where, or a situation where you may want to kind of track those patterns and then talk to your child's doctor about it so that they can look and see if there's something else that's going on, whether they have some sort of an immune deficiency or something else going on. But with a kid that is having 6 to 8 mild symptoms throughout the year, is not a sign of weakness in the immune system, but just that the immune system is learning by exposure. The next question I get is, what do I do then? How can I help my kid where their immune system is functioning the way it's meant to function? So I have 3 things that we're going to talk about that to answer that question. First is we're going to talk about sleep. We're going to talk about nutrition, of course, and then finally we'll talk about hygiene. I will start with sleep. Sleep is one of the strongest immune boosters and things that we don't really pay attention to, right? Because our bodies really need the sleep, because the time that we rest and sleep, that's when your body kind of think about the immune system as the cleaning crew, right? You have to go to sleep at night and stuff for the cleaning crew to come in there and do what it needs to do, rest and restore, and then kind of get you up for the next day. But without the sleep, the cleaning crew can do their job, and then you come back the next day and it's all over the place. So you're starting in that place of overwhelm, high inflammation, and then anything that can come in on anything can stand. So sleep is one of the strongest immune boosters. So we want to make sure we're starting with sleep, especially for the younger ones, because they need more sleep than adults, right? Like the newborn babies that sleep extended periods. The toddlers will need an average of about 10 to 12 hours of sleep a night, and in the school ages maybe 9 to 12 hours of sleep, and then the older kids maybe 8 to 9 hours of sleep. So sleep is really important. Now the other question I have is like, when my kid resists going down to sleep, they don't want to go to sleep. Now a lot of times, unfortunately for today's time, which is great, is that we have a lot of devices, a lot of things that are really interfering with the circadian rhythm, because our body or the nature is set up where you have that sunrise and sundown where it's dark and quiet. Your body goes into that relaxation mode, everything is dark and quiet, and it's time to go to sleep. But now in today's world, we have lights everywhere, where there's that sort of, if you don't have a consistent routine or some other way to tell your body that it is time to shut it down and go to sleep, there's that always activation, right, in the brains, whether it's from the lights, from the TV, from the devices and stuff that interferes with the sleep cycle. So I recommend one consistent bedtime routine. That way we kind of have that consistency that nature has, where sunrise, sundown, dark, and then go down to sleep, where if you are having the kids shut down the device at least 2 hours at a certain time, you can, the good thing about devices now is that there's a certain time you can set it where at a certain time each day it shuts down, and then you have something else, whether it's brushing teeth, shower, reading time, yoga time, relaxation time, whatever it takes for that mind to kind of start slowing down and gets into that relaxation stage so that you can go to sleep. So consistency is key when it comes to sleep. And the second thing is you want to get rid of the devices at a certain time so that the body can start getting into the relaxation phase. So screen time, most of the time, I'll say even no TV in the rooms. I've had parents who are like, oh, we just turn the TV and let the TV light go in the room. But sometimes even that TV light alone can be something that is interfering with that restorative sleep. So we want to make sure that the room environment, second after consistency, is conducive and promoting for sleep. So you want to make sure it's nice and dark like we talked about, and then it's cool and it is quiet. So anything that would interfere, especially for a kid who's already having trouble, anything can then interfere with that sleep for that. So sleep is important. Strong immune booster, consistency is key. You want to make sure the environment is conducive too. I have seen a lot of kids recently where we have frequent nighttime awakening, especially now that it's nice and hot outside, because of the heat. They're waking up just uncomfortable because they're sweating and stuff, and that can interfere too. So we want to make sure consistency and an environment that is conducive for sleep. Now moving on to the second one, nutrition. Our immune cells need to be built and need the nutrients they need, right? So what is the question I get about this one is that, oh, but my kid is picky, they won't eat any fruits or veggies. Well, that's okay, because the immune system needs more than fruits or veggies, right? And the whole idea is really not that idea of pushing or focusing on one meal or one kind of veggie or anything, but just promoting patterns of healthy eating where they're exposed to different variety, different kinds of food, where we make mealtime fun. That way they can get exposed to as many things that the body needs, because you can get nutrients from so many different foods, right? So the idea is including variety into the diets. I will say this though, that high sugary foods can suppress the immune system, where if your kids, especially their breakfast meals before they get to school, is full of sugar and sweets and high sugary cereals and stuff, it can suppress the immune system, increase inflammation, and then really mess up the gut flora, where its analogy would be to send your kid out of the house on a cold winter day without a jacket on, or with just shorts and without any jacket on. They're gonna get sick. So it's the same thing. It's like pumping them with sugar and sending them out to a slew of an environment where they get exposed to so many viruses. So the chances are they're going to get sick because their immune system is temporarily suppressed by highly sugary foods. So what do your immune cells need then? One, it is proteins. Your immune cells need protein for the production of the cells. So you want to make sure that they're getting some sort of protein. proteins, whether it's via eggs. Eggs are a really good source of that. Beans is proteins, meats and chickens and all of that stuff. So having even yogurt is good. Having eggs and yogurt as a breakfast is an amazing option where you are giving them the proteins they need for their immune cell production. Second things that they need, the immune system needs, is iron. I'm seeing quite a few kids, especially the picky eater with iron deficiency anemia, just making sure the iron supply is there for essential immune function, which you can get again from beans. You can get iron from meats as well as seafoods and fruits and vegetables. And then finally, we heard about this a lot, especially with the COVID time, with zinc and vitamin C. Of course, the citrus fruits and stuff are really good for vitamin C and zinc production. Beans again is good, lentils are good and stuff. So you have options where once you're preparing, whether it's a breakfast option for your kid before they're going on to school, just kind of ensuring that they have some sort of a protein in there. And there's some iron fortified cereals too that are great for that. Nuts and seeds are good, especially with zinc and vitamin C. So just being mindful that what am I feeding my kid before sending them out there, knowing that they may potentially be exposed to whatever maybe going through the school at that time, but they really do need the proteins, they need the iron, the vitamin C, and the zinc. One other thing is that high iron containing foods with the high vitamin C containing foods, because the vitamin C helps the absorption of the iron. So for example, you can pair up a beans that is high in iron with something like a tomato that is high in vitamin C, and that combination helps with the absorption of iron. So that's the thing about foods. Now with the picky eaters, smoothies are great options where you can give them a breakfast smoothie in the morning and add some sort of proteins in there. That's a great option where instead of forcing them to eat some sort of a vegetable in the morning before you go, a smoothie might be an easy way for you to start. But being mindful that it's about the exposure and time and repetition rather than perfection of trying to get them to eat a particular meal at a particular time, because we're looking at long-term exposure and long-term eating habits versus a particular meal. And then finally, hygiene. What do I mean by that? Hand washing, hand washing, hand washing. Kids, they touch everything. They touch stuff all the time, especially once it's cold season. They're coughing, they're sneezing, they're touching everything, and then they're eating without washing their hands. Just having that thing where once your kids come into the house, hand washing. Sometimes you have to watch them, make sure they're actually rubbing and using soap, because I've seen kids who just open and then do this and then walk out, oh, I washed my hands, they're clean. And sometimes they just pour the water on there. So hand washing is really key, but starting to teach them how to wash their hands every time you walk into the house. Every time we go to have a meal, just make sure you wash your hands. Why are we doing this repetition at different steps? Because you want to teach them how to do it properly, where we're reducing that transmission of infection. So hand washing every time you walk in the house, hand washing every time before you even go into open up the refrigerator or eat anything, and hand washing of course every time after you use the bathroom. That way you have different stages throughout the day where you're really teaching them proper hand washing to reduce the transmission of infection. So kids get sick, sometimes normal, sometimes not normal. You can help your kid boost immune system by helping them with that consistent sleep, helping them get that required sleep that they need, and helping them get those foods that are going to help with your immune cell production, and hand hygiene. Wash, wash, wash to prevent the spread of viral infections. I hope you found this helpful. Share this with your mom friend or tag a friend, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Dr. Lum.